Hi there, this is Greg Cox with Dale Carnegie Chicago, and our subject today is closing the sale, which is a logical conclusion to a series of steps that have gone very well. You know, those of us that sell for a living, you know, we want to remember that sales, well, they don't happen by accident. And so in today's workshop, we'll talk about a process that will get us what we want by design. One of the things that's interesting about Dale Carnegie, and actually there is one thing that I probably need to change in my introduction, you know, because we talked about how Dale Carnegie was founded in 1912 and it was one man's vision. Oh, these men, I'm telling you. Anyway, that's not the whole story. You know, you really want to hear a cool story, especially because it's particularly cool because the story really takes off in 1955 when Dale Carnegie passed away, and it's his wife, Dorothy, that really took Dale Carnegie globally, that really made Dale Carnegie the international brand that it is. Dorothy, serious, big tank game, serious businesswoman, and she ran the company for 35 years. Trailblazer, you know, with you know, all kinds of great stories of her, you know, with a very wonderful people skills, directing and leading. Really, really great. But one of the things that's cool, if you don't know, is that Dale Carnegie, not only we've been doing this for over 100 years, but we're in 85 countries. And we talk about what we're going to talk about today in 35 languages, and it works. It's pretty neat. And one of the things that we find, doesn't matter where you go, in what country you're in, we find that there's this thing called the new business reality. And let me just kind of float this out to the group, and then we'll take a vote in about 30 seconds, and we'll see how many people in this room have said, okay, I see that. The new business reality basically says that to grow revenue, to be profitable, and really have the business that you want, we're going to have to do more, better, faster, with less resources. I can say that in Mandarin, Portuguese, Japanese, German, French, Icelandic. Oh, you get the point, right? I can say that, and everybody's going to raise their hand. Let's take a vote. Who's seen that? Who'd say, yeah, that I've definitely seen more, better, faster, or less? I think we're almost anonymous. I think some people give me a head nod and not raising their hand. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm curious, because where we're going to go for the next hour, you know, I think that it's important to establish a need. You want to close a deal? Make sure you do that step thoroughly. Because if we try to close it, we haven't established a need, we're going to be irritating. Yeah? So think about this. More, better, faster, with less. I raised my hand, or at least I was nodding my head. How does that show up in my business? How's that showing up in my current gig? I'm kind of curious. Okay, write it down. Write down there in the space provided. How does that show up for you, everybody? Let's all write it down, because writing it down, that's gonna be a key piece. So write it down. How does this show up for you? What hoop are you having to jump through that you didn't before? What's become kind of tricky? Are there some new rules that you got to deal with? And I'll promise, you take the time to write a couple things down, and the rest of the way, this will be more relevant. So now also think about this. Think about the clients that you serve, that your organization is trying to serve, you're trying to capture revenues from, trying to improve how they're doing their business or the cause that you have undertaken. Now think about that group of people. Now what kinds of things are they having to do that are kind of along this more better, faster with less context? Because you know you inherit that, right? Yeah, we inherit that. And so this is a chance for us to kind of get more in connection with our client and be more relevant moving forward. What are they dealing with that, gosh, shucks, they never had to deal with all that much until now, until recently? Burner's been turned up on them a little bit. Boy, if we got more in touch with that, it would help us to connect and be more relevant, wouldn't it? All right, write down a couple things. What pops in your mind? So we're going to have a little participation. Okay, so if everybody could just stand up. I know. Up we go. This is going to be fun because we're here to network and meet people, and we're about to hear from some very interesting people. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's just kind of form groups of maybe 4 or 5 people, kind of turn around, just make a move. And when you're ready, we'll start, okay? But get to where you're 4 or 5 people. If there's a 6th person, that's cool, that's all right. Don't banish them from your group. Okay, so here's the subject. Here's the subject. You ready? Okay. I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and let's make sure that we all give everybody a chance to talk in our group, okay? So if you got 8, now you got a little more of a challenge, all right? So what did you write down? Okay, what did you write down? How does the new business reality show up for you? You've already got it, kind of a couple notes, and for your clients. And let's just see what everybody else wrote down. Let's see what we got in common. And we're probably going to see a little bit of high-fiving, fist-pumping, head nodding, going, oh yeah. Okay, and there's going to probably be some laughter. There always is. Okay, you ready? Everybody understand what we're doing? Have fun? Ready, go. So it's interesting. I find it really interesting how we can find people that, are in different businesses, yet there's as much head nodding going on as there was just for the last couple minutes. And we kind of can connect. I mean, this is kind of one of those things that are so cool about an event like this is we can connect in all kinds of different ways. Common ground we find, and one of the things that's really neat is we find common ground on like what we're going through, and how we can better deal with it, and even what our clients are going through, and how we can better support them. I mean, it's cool. So I'm kind of curious. What were some of the things that were said out there in the groups? I mean, I heard a bunch of things that sounded really good, so I'm looking forward to a conversation right here as a big group. What were some of the things that resonated with you? Signs of the new business reality that basically says, okay, everybody, we're going to have to do more, better, faster with less to move forward. We're going to have to do more, better, faster with less to have happen what we want to have happen. What were some of the things, from your client's point of view, they're the most important person in the room. It's difficult to say, hey, do you mind if I answer a few emails during our conversation? Yeah. Do you have a word that begins with it? No, I'm like a words with friends joke, never mind. All right, but it would be, we've got to be focused on them. And so, because client relationships we need to be kind of fully present, and all in. There's a lot of balancing going on. Anybody read Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In? That's a good read. It was one of my favorite reads last year. We actually created a whole women's forum, okay, that actually Mary in the back facilitates. Has about, we get together, we party, and that's about balance. It's how can I be present? I mean, that book is about how can I be present at home and present at work because I got game and I want to be around at work. I want a career. That's Sheryl Sandberg's way of looking at it. And I mean, it's the same kind of within the career, there's all these other balancing things we got to juggle. And the client relationship takes our full mind share, doesn't it? I mean, it's tricky it's hard to multitask when you're speaking with a client. Somebody else. Yeah.
Sort of hemispheric and local time zone.
Yeah, what's with that?
Everybody's working all around I can't even say it, around the clock.
Seriously.
I'm so jet lagged, I don't know what time it is.
Yeah, I get this. I'm on this conference call this morning, and there's someone from Taiwan. There's someone from Hong Kong, okay, which is pretty much that's close enough. But then there's also someone from Brazil, Germany. I mean, they were every time zone. There were people up in the middle of the night. I mean, just the invite I got had like 12 time zones. I'm like, whoa. And the person closes it out by saying, good morning, good evening. Thanks for getting up in the middle of the night. You can go back to bed now. I mean, it was that kind of a thing. And that's great. That's really interesting. How many people dealing with that? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's not only days of the week or timelines. I'm working on a project in Saudi Arabia, so you might know their work week is Sunday, Thursday. So I'm done on Wednesday. That's hump day, right? Here in Chicago. There's no camel that has that Wednesday thing going on. So I have to finish that margin of time. There's no weekend.
Yeah. Or you call them up and they say, I'm on holiday for the next 4 weeks. And you're like, man, I want to move there. Crazy. That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of things to juggle there, in our world that, kind of we're all over the place. Somebody else. Yeah.
How we communicate with our clients has changed a lot. When I started as an attorney, you always had a formal letter going to your client or opposing counsel. Now we shoot emails any time of day and night. It's totally faster. I think it's better since it's faster. It's cheaper for the client, certainly, because you're not taking as much time.
Yeah.
You have lower overhead because you don't need so much secretarial help, but it's all on you.
Yeah. Of course, and you got to bill the hours too, right? I mean, and if there's all this speeding up, it's tricky. There's texting and voicemail and email and internet and gosh, it's nuts. And you get some of the youngins coming up, Gen X, or that's Gen Y, millennials. Does anyone have any generational conflict in their organization in any way, shape, or form? Generational conflict. 65% of organizations report it. Significant, more so than ever before because of the way they're growing up on the technology thing particularly.
Culture is so different.
So different, culture, absolutely. And frankly, from their point of view, baby boomers, okay, if you're born after 1964, okay, to this new generation, we're a bunch of workaholics. Don't want that. It's very interesting. And that's probably, a bigger change than the generational conflict of the 60s. I mean, most of the people that were wearing tie-dye and going around in like Volkswagen buses and stuff, listening to Grateful Dead records, are now wearing suits and driving Mercedes. I mean, it's kind of changed, a little different, this next generation coming up. What else do you guys talk about? More, better, fast, what's, how, so yeah.
I noticed a theme or a flavor in our group that was a positive acceptance with solutions. So it was solution-oriented, how we were talking. Nobody complained about what was happening. Less people are buying fewer things are too expensive in Europe being shipped to America in Agnes's case. And I didn't hear anybody complaining. I heard moving forward.
Yeah, those are really good points. I mean, the back on this generation, they're the best educated generation. They're the most tolerant generation. I mean, that's great. I mean, I'm very thankful. Well, my daughter is Chinese. My wife and I adopted from China, and so my daughter was born along the Yangtze River in China, and we went and got her when she was 10 months old. And I'm just so appreciative of the world that she is growing up in. That it's accepting, that, that we're embracing diversity. We're making progress on that. This generation that's coming up, the under 30, big time tolerant, which is beautiful, which is awesome. Needed that. Somebody else. Yeah.
We talked about working at what we think is capacity based on staff levels, and yet continuing to build your pipeline.
Yeah, and this is really a great transition to where we're going the rest of the way, for our time this afternoon. I mean, here's the thing about the new business reality, and my hope would not be that it would be kind of like a downer, like, what's this? This guy's supposed to be with Dale Carnegie. This is kind of like a gripe session on the status of the status of things. It's what we really want to be thinking is that things are not the same. And what got us to this place is not going to get us to the next level. And when we have big dreams, we just want to make sure that we've got the plan in place that's going to help us execute that, because there's enough challenges and there's enough obstacles and change, just flat out change, that could trip us up unless we're ready. And that's what we're really about for the rest of our time this afternoon. All right, let me take a couple of kind of general survey questions. How many people here own their own business? How many people in here play a significant role in hunting and finding your revenue? All right, great. How many people in here have a team of people that report to you that are out seeking and finding and uncovering revenue? Okay, great. All right, so that'll give. I want to make sure that I'm right in the bullseye of relevancy here. Okay, so flip to the next page in your handout, and we'll talk about two indisputable rules. Now, these are two rules that when we get around, really exciting things can happen, okay? Now, the first rule is this rule: salespeople sell. Say it with me. Salespeople sell. One more time. Salespeople sell. Now, a lot of people will say to me, gosh, that sounds a little redundant. Salespeople sell. Isn't kind of sales already in the salespeople name? What? Salespeople sell. Okay, so here's the thing. And for some people, when I present this truth, this indisputable rule, it can be really a wonderful epiphany. Salespeople sell. Okay, and if that wasn't tricky, if selling wasn't a little bit tricky, it wouldn't be worth a lot. Okay, there wouldn't be a reward in it. But because selling is not, particularly easy, this is one of the reasons why the people that can do it, they're going to have a lot of job security. It's going to be really good because salespeople sell. Say it with me. Salespeople sell. And that means if we come across somebody that's kind of preoccupied, you call them up and they're like, oh, they're not going to necessarily say, Kim, yo, I never met you before, but I'm so glad you're calling. Let me put you on speakerphone. Come on, everybody, Kim's on the phone. Right? It doesn't really happen, unless you're having a really good day, right? Okay? But if we find someone who's preoccupied and that we call them up and they're doing something else, how often is that? All right? So if we get someone that's preoccupied, salespeople get them to what? Yeah, pay attention. Yeah. And if we get someone who's indifferent, they say, yeah, but I've already got a vendor for that. I'm all set. If they're indifferent, we get them to what? We get them to care. We get them to say, well, that's interesting. Let me ask you this. Oh. A lot of times buyers are skeptical. They doubt what we say. But when we can sell, that's okay, because if someone doubts, we get them to what? We get them to what? Believe. Yeah, good. Right? And who's had a client procrastinate at some point? Show of hands. Yeah, that's what I figured. If a client procrastinates, we get them to what? Yeah, take action. Let's do it. Let's move forward. This is really great. You know, and if they're reluctant and they're getting kind of cold feet and we get them to what? Feel what? Feel that it's going to be okay and they can go ahead and what? Take action. Sure, right. Salespeople sell. That's why selling is worth something. Okay, because salespeople sell. Okay, and if we have a big tank on selling, we're going to have a much better batting average. We're going to have much more success. It's like having a sharper axe. You know, when you're a lumberjack going into the forest. Salespeople sell. Say it with me. Salespeople sell. Okay, second rule is that sales leaders get salespeople to sell. Okay, and so what that's really about is if we have a team, you know, getting them to tell our story, tell it well, and tell it often. You know, or if you have channels, you know, if you have other people that are your helpers or your partners in distributing your services, you know, getting them to be our advocate, getting them to help us sell. And so sometimes there will be some folks that I'll coach that will, you know, they have a wonderful network of rainmaking connections, you know, that actually, yeah, you could put a ruler to it. I'm talking about they don't just like and they exchange pleasantries. I'm talking you could put a ruler to it. They're getting business for that person. You know, so sales leaders get salespeople to sell more, and it has to do, you know, it depends what your situation is. Sometimes that's just being a really great boss and a great coach. You know, and taking them to a place they wouldn't go on their own. You know, sometimes that's really appreciating people for helping us out. Thanking people, you know, so that the process repeats. But those are two rules that can be real game-changing rules, as obvious as they may seem. You know, common sense is not that common, and it's not really common practice. So let me ask you this. How many of you, and it seemed like a lot of people are actually doing quite a bit of selling in here, which is great. So what are some of the things that make selling tricky? What are some of the things? All right, you know, it might be because it feels a little cheesy, you know, because you're trying to, okay, here and then here. Here first.
Identifying people who actually can afford your services.
It's sometimes there's going to be a big price objection. Is that?
I heard sticker shock recently.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and that's a little bit, you know, uncomfortable, and yeah, and so and to try to tell them what the price is up front feels a little bit rude too, right? You know, because if you say, hey, wait a sec, before I even talk to you, okay, are you getting a little irritated by this rate? Okay, because if you are, then I don't want to even bother, you know, I got time on, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Many buyers are first-time buyers, So they come in questioning or unfamiliar with purchasing.
Yeah.
And then you're up against rejection.
Yeah.
And a lot of salespeople that I've come in contact with, it's hard for them to take no.
Yeah.
Because they take it very personally.
Yeah, you know, there's a, you know, sometimes buyers, you know, they don't know what they don't know about what you're talking to them about, you know, and so it becomes this exercise where get a price, get a price, get a price, put all the prices on a piece of paper. Now let's see which one's lowest. Oh, it's this one. You know, salespeople sell, you know. Salespeople sell. And so this is one of the things, we want to meet people where they're at. But man, I totally know where you're coming from, absolutely. What else makes selling a little tricky here?
A lot of people are over-approached. Too many people are approaching them to buy.
Too many people, they're getting too many buying messages? I'm sorry, I couldn't quite.
So, advertising, for example, a new whatever opens up in town, and everybody's approaching them to advertise, so they just shut down.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's really crazy, if you read some of the studies about how many messages people get to buy, if you take banner ads and billboards that actually switch while you're sitting there in traffic, wow, right? I mean, you have, you know, all these e-blasts that we're getting. I mean, it just gets crazy. People just get overload. And of course, when they first move in, boy, they just get like, because everybody knows to look at cranes and look for, you know, movers and shakers. They're all going to get about 50 calls this week, right? I mean, that's kind of how it shakes out. Yeah. And you got LinkedIn. I mean, everybody's connecting with us all the time. Yeah. Somebody else. What else is tricky about selling here and here and then here?
I think in some industries, it can be difficult to get in front of your target client. So to even get to the selling, it's difficult to get there.
It's unbelievable. You know, when I used to run a downtown branch for Canon, and it was all pre-9/11. You could walk into a skyscraper and get on the elevator and go to the top and go all the way down. You know, sometimes you might get a security guard chasing you, but you just you go like to floor 76, then to 53, and 61, and then 79, and good luck catching me. I was like Swift, I moved like a ghost. Yeah, it's good. But I mean, now, forget it. Forget it. You try some shenanigans and you're gonna like end up in jail, right? I mean, it's kind of like, that's really tricky. And of course you got voicemail and in caller ID, I don't think we even mentioned caller ID on our technology truck. You know, that's tricky, you know? And you're calling and you're not leaving a message and you call them again, you know, you don't want to leave a message because you've already left two. And you get this message like, hi, I'm Vicki. I'm in today, but I'm away from my desk, but your call is important to me. Leave a message, I'll get back to you right away. You're like, Vicki, you're a liar. I've left you 4 messages. Seriously. I mean, and then, or you get caller ID and you keep calling them and they're like, you know, they're playing like solitaire. And then you call them and then you call them again and your number keeps flashing up and they're like, my gosh, they're a stalker. I'm not buying from them now. And you're like, it's the end of the month. I got to get this deal in.
Yeah. Phones have auto block now. Repeated phone they haven't hooked up before, it's blocking automatic. Doesn't even reach me.
You just cancel them from your life. Yeah. Back here.
So to build on what this lady was saying, sometimes the hardest part is just getting in front of the right people who want your thing or who need it and can afford it and have some level of interest. And it's just like there's no point in fishing where there's no fish. Knowing where the fish are is the tricky part.
That's right. And you know, one of the things we find is that, you know, you get that opening, we better make it count. Boy, oh boy, we better make it count. You know, because it's not enough to be nice. Got to be relevant. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if most of the people in here, or if we are promoting our own business and we have our tank our financial thermostat is on small, so then when we go to close the deal, limiting beliefs, fears come up, and we aren't authentic in what we're saying, so it makes it much more difficult.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news on this. And one of the things that I have found is that if your axe is sharp and your tank is big, okay, your sales tank, it's going to really play to your advantage because there's so many people that are using blasting and digital, and they're thinking they're going to build their business all off Facebook or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with having a social media campaign. We certainly have one in our business. There are going to be some things that are ancient but true. We feel at Dale Carnegie is that relationship selling is live and well. And frankly, as I was telling someone earlier, I think that and I've said this, I've put this in white papers, I've said this, you can find this, me saying this. I really think that for the most part, women are better salespeople than men. Give yourself a hand. Yeah, right. There's the guys in the audience who are going, oh, yeah, all right. And here's why, and it's for the most part, is I think that women are better listeners. I think that they have a tendency to show more empathy. I think that they're more nurturing. And those are some things that really help you when you're selling. Big time. And I've thought this for about 25 years. Okay? And I am certain that this is the case. Now, I've had some, gentlemen on my teams over the years that were exceptional and were excellent listeners and were phenomenal salespeople. And for the most part, I think that selling like you do now, selling like it is now when it's successful, favors women. And let me show you the model, okay, that I would suggest that you consider. It's not the only sales model in the world, but it's one that's proven and it works, and we'll kind of measure ourselves to get it. Yeah.
I was going to ask before we go forward, so what is the good approach? Do we leave 13 emails? Do we leave 10 voicemails? Does anybody have magic formula there?
Well, here it is. I don't think that it's necessarily magic. Okay, I think that though that it's a process that has critical steps. Okay, and so there are things, and here's one thing. If you don't use a process, you're winging it. And if you look at CSO Insights, that's a great website to goggle. It's got small company data, which I think you'll find really interesting, small and medium, large. CSO Insights. Basically what the research says on CSO Insights is that if you have a formal sales model, a sales methodology, that your results will improve. And because it's going to improve your bandwidth, you're going to be able to connect with a wider variety of people that are different than you. You'll be able to sell better when you're tired. You'll be able to sell when you're busy. And you'll be able to get back on track if for whatever reason you get off. And sometimes a customer will get us out of whack and off the path. Okay, and so having a model, okay, that looks like this. Okay, and again, here's my thing. I'm not looking for this to be like a Dale Carnegie sales model infomercial, but here's the thing. This model is built for people that want to get great results, and it's an other person focused model. Okay, so the thing starts off, okay, with the center being, I'm going to be about other people. I'm going to be about relationships. So if integrity and doing what you say you're going to do and enjoying the people that you're doing business with, this is where we're coming from. Okay, it's about, relationships. All right, so the steps go like this. And again, this is a sales model that we teach in 35 languages, and it works in all of them, which is amazing if you think about it, that you wouldn't have more get lost in translation. Okay, but this is how people buy, and this is how people sell effectively in every language. So it starts with rapport, okay? And in a minute, we'll take inventory on each of these steps. But rapport is when, we are developing trust. We're essentially selling ourselves. So people that are good at this step get people to open up and get people to trust them. They show up with credibility. This is how, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, written by Dale Carnegie, this is why, like in the 1940s, we got into sales training because we said to salespeople, hey, be a friendlier person. Be a friendlier person and you'll sell more. Relax, be a friendlier person. Okay, and that starts off the sales model rapport. Okay, the second step is the interest step. And the interest step is going to be critical because, and this is actually what separates the really excellent salespeople from the people that desire to be excellent and may never be, is that this is where we gain a deep understanding of the client's need. This is where we get them to spill it. People that do really well in the interest step figure out stuff that the competition doesn't figure out. They don't just ask a bunch of questions off some sheet or the questions they always ask. They're able to ask questions in a moment that are deep and insightful and penetrating. And they get people that we're talking to even clearer on whatever they're working for than they were when we started talking to them. And that's how we bring game. Okay, and if you're able to do that, well, that is exciting. You get people to spill it, and they're not harboring truth from you. They're spilling it. They're telling you that they really did have a problem with this vendor last summer, and they've been thinking about kicking them out or whatever it is. You're going to get all that when you do the interest step really, really well. Okay, next comes the solution step. Okay, solution step is when we now build a solution. So we say, here is the offering that my company would like to present you. Here is my proposal for consulting services. Here is my PR campaign. Here is our internet management data, whatever it is you're proposing. Okay, here's the solution. We want that solution to fit like Cinderella's slipper. Okay, remember this story, Cinderella? You remember this. Where did she get the slipper? Seriously. Where did Cinderella get the slipper? Right. And then she lost it at the ball, right? And then this prince dude says, okay, we're going to check this out. We're going to try the slipper on everybody. I don't know that they were wearing like those little socky things that I don't know. But stepsister comes out with her size 24 Shaq foot, tries to put it on, get it in that slipper. Nope, Cinderella comes out, But here's the thing. Unless you build trust, you're not going to get them to spill it. And unless you get them to spill it, there's not going to be any Cinderella slipper. Everybody follow me? So unless we build that trust, sell ourselves, you can trust me, we're not going to be able to ask them any questions that have any depth. And we're not going to find out what they really have got going on, what they really have going on. And if we don't find out what they really have going on, we're not going to be able to put a Cinderella slipper solution together. And it might be the same thing you propose all the time, but you've never proposed it the same way twice. Not if you're Cinderella slippering it. it ought to be tailored. It ought to be built and presented so that it makes that client's heart sing so that they'd be crazy not to do business with you. Then you get the motive step. Okay, the motive step is simply where we try to get urgency. We try to get them to think about moving forward with this now. Now you can imagine how difficult this is without those first 3 steps going really well. But if we've built rapport, we've sold ourselves, we've built a lot of trust, we've developed interest, we've got them to spill it, we got them to really give us insight of what they've got going on, and we followed it with a Cinderella slipper solution, that's going to be exciting. And then urgency is natural. Urgency without those first 3 steps going spectacularly is unnatural. It makes us sound pushy. It makes us irritating. And then closing the deal, getting commitment, becomes a logical conclusion to a series of steps that have gone very, very well. So if you want to close the deal, what you do is do those other steps really, really well. Okay, and then closing isn't that difficult. Closing ought to be a logical conclusion. Yes, there are some techniques that we can use to get people to close, but the best technique, okay, the best technique is to have them like you, have them know that they have a need that they're not willing to put up with anymore. Have their current situation become unacceptable. And then put a Cinderella slipper solution in front of them that bridges them to a better place. Man, talk about finding satisfaction in your work, man. This rocks for that. And then reminding them essentially in the motive step, hey, this is what you've got going on, and this is what it's going to be when we get this thing implemented. Let's do it. Logical conclusion to a series of steps that have gone very, very well. Proceeded, with planning. So some of you probably need to be better at planning. Some of you might find that you'd be better off planning less and just hitting it. Some of us need to plan better, so we're not just hoping to get results by accident, but we get intentionality into the mix, and then we have spectacular follow-through. But that's a model that's been proven to work, and it's one that when you do it will give you a lot of satisfaction. One of my calls on the earth is to have people feel that they can. Okay, and so one of the tools that I've got for you there, look at that last page. And what I would suggest you do is kind of take a little inventory. You could do a little SWOT on yourself. Okay? And when you do that, I think what you're going to find is your results get better. And so it would be great to leave here today thinking, okay, here are a couple of these steps that I need to work on. Think about this again. Planning. What needs to happen is we need to manage our time well. We need to select who we're going to call, what we're going to say. Know that we have 24 hours in a day. Let's use it well. How are we doing on that? Rapport. How friendly are we at the beginning? Some of us, we become more friendly as we get to know some people. But one great thing to do is read How to Win Friends and Influence People, or get the download of the Human Relations Secrets of Success, and make a commitment to being a friendlier person. Interest, what needs to happen? Great questions that get to the heart of what really matters for the client you're calling on. And uncovering things that nobody else has, even the client maybe hasn't thought about. Solution. describe for them in a relevant to them kind of way why this solution that you have given to them is perfect. Give evidence. We actually teach 7 forms of evidence. We don't have time to get into that today, but there's a lot of evidence that we can give people that'll show them. This is where our product knowledge, our know-how, the proof, the references, testimonials, exhibits, demonstrations, all kinds of things we can do there. Motive. That's creating urgency. The thing to remember about motive, and that's to get them emotionally engaged and wanting to move forward, is that we have to have done the rest of the model well. We have to have trust, we have to have need, and we have to have Cinderella's slipper solution. Then commitment, the close. Again, this is not an era where there's a bunch of people that are gullible. Okay, and we don't want to even do business like that. But when we do those other steps well, closing ought to be a logical conclusion to a series of steps that have gone very well. And then, of course, follow-up is kind of we do what we say we're going to do. So one of the offers that I would make to you, if you'd like to get some feedback on this tool, if you'd like to talk to, you can give your card to Mary. Mary, wave your hand. Yeah, and we'll talk you through it. You could visit our website, okay, chicago.dalecarnegie.com, okay, and you can check out our website. We got all kinds of things going on for leaders and for salespeople or people that are looking to tell their story, tell it well, and tell it often. We also have a benefit. You can go to one of our morning workshops, our women's forum. As a member of this organization, you can go for free. You can talk to Mary about that too. Give her your card. Thank you.